This is always the awkward part.
What?
Waiting for people to come on here. I never know what to do. I'm always like, because when you post, to, well, actually, I think you can edit it to post it to Facebook. Michael Gass! What's up, stud? You out there putting out fires? I'm always happy when people start coming on here, because I gotta tell you, the beginning of these things are always the most awkward. It's like the first time I ever film something, not knowing where to put my hands, is how I feel each and every time I log on here. What's up, you guys? I wanted to give you guys a little preview of, like, I've got my personal stim machine happening on the back, and I got so many direct messages from my story yesterday about Colleen Davis is in the house. Listen, if you guys want a shout out, make sure to comment on here and let me know who's on here. Just sitting here with this belt on, getting a little stim on the old back. And I want to say, working on the 12-pack, guys. Michael Gasperson, my best friend, literally grades like 1 through 12. We got mistaken for identical twins all of our childhood, and pretty much ran around every day of our lives for the first grades 1 through 8 is on here. And now he is a firefighter paramedic after being a big NFL football player. So he is, say hi, George. Love you so much. Okay, so I wanted to get on here and just quickly, I got so many direct messages yesterday about what the heck was going on when I got a shot in my butt. And I have two bulging discs. I had a little accident when I was going into my freshman year of high school, where I was standing on a palm tree stump on a water skiing vacation. One of my friends came and held my legs, and the stump was uneven, and I fell like probably from about 8 feet from where my butt was. And it was okay. I mean, I couldn't move at the time that it happened, but ever since then, all through my sports career, I had, just kind of like plagued with back pain. And so, but that actually was one of the greatest, it actually turned into a huge blessing, because, when I became a trainer, I have so many different methods for, helping people develop their legs and get all that muscle definition without having them do heavy squatting, right? So, but basically, I wanted to talk to you guys tonight quickly about a thought I was having earlier, because about once a year, because I lifted so heavy, so many years of being an athlete, basically once a year my back will just get itself into a tizzy, and the bulging disc will start pushing on the nerve, and then things are not pleasant from there. So yesterday I went in and I got an anti-inflammatory shot, and that typically shuts everything down, and in a couple days I'll be feeling a lot better. But one of the thoughts that I was having today is that so when I go in to get shots, depending on who the doctor is, over the course of probably the last 3 years, this didn't happen yesterday, but it has happened almost every time I've gone in for a shot in the past. The doctor will offer me a crazy painkiller. And typically the types of painkillers that are prescribed in situations like these are heavy opiates. And so this is like on a more serious note that I'm doing this live stream right now, because I was deep in thought today, because I so let me back up. Opiates like Oxycontin and Percocet and Vicodin. Oxycontin is basically in the streets it's called hillbilly heroin. It's basically a legal form of heroin, and doctors are handing these Oxycontins out with like chiclets, and it's a very, very serious drug. And unfortunately, particularly in America, opiates are because of their heroin is highly addictive, and essentially all of these painkillers that were now regularly prescribed for routine dental surgeries, like back pain, all of these things, doctors can't wait to prescribe it. And I have had many uncomfortable conversations when I've gone in for back pain, because the conversation goes, I walk in and all they see is somebody who's in pain. They don't know my background. They don't know what I do for a living. And after I get the shot, it's like, okay, and we're going to prescribe you Vicodin and Oxy and, whatever else, these muscle relaxers, and I'll politely decline. Typically that's followed by a lot of pushing and, decline. And then I finally have to kind of inform them that I do not want the drugs. And what really disturbs me about kind of what I've experienced is that they're pushing they're basically pushing something that is as addictive as heroin on you, but they're not asking if there's any past history of drug abuse. There's no conversation about addiction. Without asking any questions about any of that, the doctors are willing to kind of hand over a drug that has the capacity to destroy your entire life. And I know a lot of people think, oh, well, prescription medication addiction is something that would never happen to me. But I can tell you, being in the field of work that I'm in, I have watched very powerful people fall victim to opiate addiction. And, one of my very, very, very best friends growing up, I can't even tell you how close I was with this family. And the mother went in for a routine dental surgery at 50 years old, was prescribed Oxycontin, boom, full-blown heroin addict. I cannot kick it, and it's been years, and it's destroyed the entire family. And so that, prescription medication, opiates in particular, like Vicodin, these things are not, you never think that you're going to become addicted to something because, I don't know, I think there's just a stigma attached to addiction. But because we, it's interesting because in America, we're conditioned to think that if doctors are giving us something, or if our government is allowing for something, it must be safe. And that's just absolutely not true. And so the reason that I've got, the stim machine, and I went in and got the shot yesterday, and what I wanted to say to you guys today was that I was having this thought, because if I allowed myself to be prescribed one of these opiates, obviously my back pain would be gone, and I would feel free as a bird. But on the other side of that, it would also decrease the amount of irritation to the nerve, which would allow the problem to get better, the back pain to get better a lot quicker, because it would shut that nerve down. I won't take them. I won't allow them to prescribe me opiates, because I know how addictive they are, and I know that they can destroy your life. And it doesn't matter who you are, and what you know, or what your past history of addiction is. All it takes is one. One of my friends growing up, her dad was, and by the way, these aren't families that come. These are powerful families, happy people. And I remember her dad telling, he had a past history with drugs, and he just said all it took was one line of cocaine, and I was hooked. It wasn't that I was unhappy. I was at a party and somebody offered it to me, and I thought, why not? I'm young. He's been dealing with that issue, and luckily has been clean for many, many years. But he said to me, I remember I was really young, he said, all it takes is one time of putting something in your body that's highly addictive. And so, the best way to avoid an addiction is to not take it, period. And so as I was, today I was still in a lot of pain, and I was walking to do an errand, and I had a thought that I wanted to just share with you guys, which was that, I thought, gosh, it would be so much easier if I, to have one of those prescription pills, because I would actually be way on the other side of this pain right now. And then I thought about how many people are, I was thinking, when did we become a society that that we're so afraid of being uncomfortable temporarily? It's like we become so conditioned to allowing ourselves to be taken out of being uncomfortable. Like, oh, I feel I have a sneeze. Oh, I have an itch. Oh, I have a pain. Let me take something. Let me medicate myself because God forbid I'm uncomfortable for 2 seconds. And so I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking, gosh, I wish I could allow people to actually see that I am in. I'm foregoing the prescription medication because I would rather sit in 2 days of excruciating pain than to put something into my body that is basically legal heroin. And so I wanted to just like get on here and say that and share that with you guys because, I think that one of the worst things that happens in life is that when we go through something that would be typically looked down upon or we be shamed for, and drug addiction is one of those things, or prescription medication, or I can't tell you how many alcoholics I know that don't think that they're alcoholics just because they actually don't fit the profile for somebody that would have an addiction to alcohol, and because of that they're not willing to get the help necessary. And I've got to tell you guys, addiction is everywhere. It's in middle schools, it's in rich families, it's in poor families, it's in people that work $9 an hour jobs, it's in people who are on the streets, it's prevalent with top CEOs. It doesn't matter who you are. It is a chemical reaction that your body is having to something that's going in it. And the crazy thing is that as long as something's legal, we think it's okay. And that's not true, because look at how many people right now are killing themselves with obesity because they are addicted to sugar. Our government also allows that in our food supply, and we have over 60% obesity rate. It's disgusting. It's awful. And so, you can't be embarrassed when you're struggling with something, because I got to tell you, almost everyone is struggling with something. It may not be a drug, but there's something that they're addicted to. It's a toxic relationship. It's negative thinking. It's a habit that they actually can't break. It's a cycle that they can't break. And so, because of that, one of the things that I've actually, I just felt like when I was walking around today that I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, who's one of my closest friends, and she's just a super big boss, and very powerful, very, very, very powerful. And I said to her, because she was going through some stuff with her family, like I was saying, I think one of the hardest things about when you are a powerful person is that there's an expectation for you to be perfect, and that like you're never going to struggle with anything. And there's a danger in that, because while you may be powerful, then when you actually are struggling with something, you become you're very isolated, and so you don't reach out, because people never expect the high performers in life to deal with alcohol abuse or prescription medication abuse, but yet on the low, I have to tell you, I can't tell you how many high-powered people I've trained in the last 5 years that are struggling with an opiate addiction privately, and to the point where, going to work while on Norco, going to work while on Oxycontin, and no one knows that they're medicating, and they can't actually kick the addiction. And I think one of the reasons they can't kick the addiction is because there's so much shame attached to it, because God forbid that you're powerful and you are also struggling with an addiction. And so I just say that because it was just on my heart today. And I luckily have never struggled with addiction before, but I can tell you that, but I have struggled with addiction in other areas. I've been addicted to a toxic relationship. I've been addicted to, negative thoughts. I have been addicted to food when my basketball career was over, and I allowed myself to start just eating anything I wanted. Like, I had a full-blown sugar addiction that was so hard for me to kick. And, what's really powerful is when you do go through any sort of addiction, you realize that it's not always as easy as just as just working up the discipline to kick whatever the vice is. It's much deeper than that. And, my friend's mom, who found herself addicted to Oxycontin after a routine dental surgery, you want to know why? That I believe that happened is because she had been watching her son for 10 years struggle with a drug addiction. They were like the perfect family, and they were a beautiful family. The kids were raised with so much love. There was nothing that the parents did wrong. The parents didn't do anything wrong. The son just became an addict. And when she went in for that routine dental surgery and she got that Oxycontin, it was the first time in 10 years she didn't feel the heartbreak of what parents go through when they watch a child go through a drug addiction. And then she herself fell victim to that. And so I just wanted to say that because I felt like, today it's just powerful when, especially with it, and I have so many friends now that have my pastors, my best friends, their church is filled with people. Jay, the head pastor, he struggled with addiction for so many years. It's what makes him powerful now as a leader. It's what makes him powerful now as a pastor, because, when you go through something, when you go through hardship and when you go through heartache and when you go through those things, the amount of compassion that you have for other people is exponentially increased. I can honestly say that every single, it doesn't even have to be, an addiction, just hardship in life, just heartbreak and disappointment and all of those things, betrayal, people letting you down, all of those things that I've gone through personally, it's made me, I say I'm getting soft in my old age, and I am, because when you go through those things, I'm so much more compassionate towards those things and other people, whereas when I was an athlete, and, when you're in high school before, your boat gets rocked a little bit as an adult, you tend to think that when people are struggling, it means that there's something wrong with them. And that's just, it's like, oh, and why can't you just get over this thing? Well, that's not the way that it works, and sometimes it takes you also having to walk things out to identify wow, this is like a real thing, and it requires compassion and love. And so, T. Dustin. So, I just wanted to encourage you guys with that, and just really, I guess what I really wanted to say is that I just want to encourage you guys that before you ever accept a prescription from a doctor, and I don't care who the doctor is, how long you've been going to them, how much you trust them, before you put anything in your body, ever, you need to walk away from the table. You need to go and do independent research online, and you need to look at all of the things, all of the downsides to medication, because a lot of people don't realize that Vicodin is even an opiate, because it's just so normal for it to be prescribed. And I want to just in closing, I just want to say it is disturbing, because you should be able to trust the authorities that are looking over your health. You should be able to trust your doctors. You should be able to trust your trainer. You should be able to trust, all of the people who are in position in leadership in all respective fields that you look to guide you. But you need to remember something. And that something is that person that you're placing your life in their hands, they're also a human being. They also have struggles. They're not perfect. They also may be motivated by money. They also may have pressures to meet a bottom line, because there are massive kickbacks when you prescribe medication. And especially with medication that is highly addictive, if you can get someone on one prescription, the studies have shown you typically there's two more that follow, because there's going to be one that has to counteract the original prescription that's being prescribed, and then there's usually another one that follows, because prescription medication interferes with your sleep typically. So if you can get someone on one, you can also usually get them at least on a sleep medication as well. And so with opiates, they become very, very prevalent, and the body is a miraculous machine. It will heal itself. Sometimes, you need to just give it a few days of rest and being horizontal, and like in my case, a bulging disc, you're with enough hydration and rest, it will go back to normal without putting legal, obviously illegal heroin. So, and if you are a person, because to be honest, when I was having this thought earlier today, I really just felt like God put it, like laid it on my heart that there's someone that I'm meant to say this, that someone is, someone's going to see this, whether it's right now or it's later on my Facebook. You're struggling with a prescription medication addiction, and you're afraid that if you go get the help that you need, that you're going to basically blow up your life, that people aren't going to understand, and that you're going to be shamed for it, and that people are going to look down on you for it. And I just cannot encourage you enough to just go get the help that you need. And if you don't have anyone in your life that you can trust, there are so many groups, anonymous groups, that you can seek refuge in. But doing something is better than doing nothing. And at the end of the day, whoever this is for, you're gonna lose. You're losing. It's like like opiate addiction. You lose the grips of your life. You're addicted. It's legal heroin, and I can't tell you how many. I wish I could just download every thought I'm having right now. If you knew how many whoever this is for, if you knew how many powerful people who are running major Fortune 500 companies who have struggled with this exact addiction, you wouldn't even think twice about going and getting help. And you know what? It's like, if they can get the help and not lose everything, you can too. If my brother Jay Hazlip, who's the pastor, if he can be a full-blown freaking cocaine addict and become a pastor, you can. Your life is going to begin when you get the help. When you break the cycle. So please do not, whoever this is for, please do not delay. And by the way, you have nothing to be embarrassed of. And FYI, the people who do make you feel, the people who do cast judgment and do cast shame, just in general in life, in my experience, are the ones who have the most skeletons in the closet, the most that they are concealing. It's true. That's why the truth scares them so much, and why they have to judge so much, because they're so afraid of you seeing them and you seeing their skeletons, that they have to spend all their time pointing out everyone else's. So, you can't allow people like that to stop you from living the life that you need to be living, and, handling the things that you need to handle. So, in any case, I want to just say that before the night was up. And, listen, this thing is sweet. It looks like I'm wearing a weightlifting belt, but just a little electrical stim. So, if you, by the way, if you are struggling with something, you can privately DM me, and I can also, I have a lot of people that I'm connected to who are total bosses and experts in this area, and I can definitely put you in contact with them and help point you in the right direction. So please do not hesitate if this public service announcement is for you. All right, hope you guys have a blessed night.